Hey folks, it's Ryan at Robot Dog Studio, and my DIY recording studio is really starting to look like something. Let's see what I've been up to the last 6 months. Last we left off, I was mudding the live room of the studio. Bedding the tape is definitely the nice, easy part before all the tedious finish work comes in. I've become very familiar with how ladders work lately, that's for sure. I won't make you watch me finish drywall for 3 hours, so let's skip ahead to the next thing. I needed to start framing out a ceiling that I could insulate and then nail my tongue-and-groove finish material to. I used a laser to start this ceiling out perfectly level. And then I beveled a 2x4 to match the slope of the ceiling. And I attached that 2x4 to the wall to start the overframing of the ceiling. I threw in some rafter hangers to support these ceiling rafters against the wall. And then I used long truss screws to attach them to the roof framing. Of course, I had to do the same thing on the opposite wall. I got a great price on some used rock wool that someone was pulling out of a trailer. And with a fresh, tight layout on the ceiling framing, I was able to friction fit them really nicely. I put in some blocking for lighting. I already had R49 of closed cell spray foam in the roof, but I found that it actually didn't block out the noise of rain on the metal roof. A layer of rock wool, though, made a big difference, and the extra thermal insulation doesn't hurt either. Here I use this beam as a convenient place to create a soffit for fresh air ventilation. At some point, I did run out of my used rock wool and I had to buy new, but I definitely saved a lot of money with that marketplace find. I finally bought a giant 18-inch paint roller, and that was a game changer for the rest of the live room. Finally, the moment I was most excited for, working on the finished ceiling. We've already done one coat of this light satin pecan, steel wooled it all, and now we're doing the second stage with this slightly darker antique walnut. I think what that does is the lighter stain kind of settles into the grain, and then you can put the darker stain on. It's much more even. I find if you go right to a dark stain on pine, it just kind of looks splotchy. And the other thing is I got this applicator that's for doing floors, so you can run it down the whole thing, and from end to end you plug in the streaks. So it's all been working out pretty well. The biggest problem here is where do we put all this stuff? So it's just everywhere, and we're figuring that out. This was like the biggest payoff of the whole build. I was dying to see this ceiling go up. Turns out wood is often bowed or twisted or warped, and I had to use this little wedge technique to get the boards to line up properly. Slide it up about where it goes, and then I can mark where light boxes. Good thing to use a little bit. I'll have a little because it is a little bigger.
See if you got lucky. That squeaking sounds like the song from Star Wars. Like, you know when there's like that band? You know what I'm talking?
Sounds like the Cantina band.
Yeah, yeah, it does.
Autistic thoughts. This first batch of Knotty Pine was also a marketplace find. I had gotten a great deal on it, but as usual, I had to go and buy more at the lumberyard to finish the job. This was one very satisfying piece to put in. Okay, now here's one place where the salvage stuff got me into trouble. I made all these custom windows out of $5 window panes, and surprise, surprise, they were junk. You can see the seals are broken, so they're all fogged up inside with moisture. So I had to pay up and special order these beauties. And of course, take all the windows out, replace the glass units, and put them all back in. Here you can see how nice these new glass units are compared to the old ones. They're 1/4 inch thick on each pane of the dual pane glass. I sealed them up with a heavy bead of OSI sealant. And these were really nice frames that I had made very cheaply out of cedar deck boards. I was so over it at this point that I didn't take any footage of putting the new windows back in, but here is some footage of me putting in the first round of windows a few months back. And then finally, the next huge payoff, flooring. Initially, I had totally intended on getting some kind of LVP, luxury vinyl plank flooring. But after finishing the ceiling and then trying some sample pieces of LVP, I just couldn't cover the floor in essentially plastic. So I got a great deal on this engineered acacia from Lumber Liquidators, and I've been totally psyched with how it came out. You can see I have some layers of tar paper and 1/4-inch plywood down to level the floor where there were some low spots. Since this is a nail-down flooring, you can't pour floor leveler under it. But all in all, it was the right way to go because it really stiffened up the floor under this floating raft of subfloor that we had put over the top of rigid foam. Here's another shot of the tar paper kind of filling in a low spot, and then over here we sanded down some high spots. Fortunately, the rest of the studio floor was perfectly level. This just got a little wonky because of the creative way that I had built it. This was my first time actually using any air tools in construction, and you can also see my vintage knee pads that I found in my dad's garage. You can probably tell, but this took so much longer than I thought it was going to take. I was getting pretty good at it by the end of this room. The first and last row or two was glued down because you can't really get the nail gun in there to put a staple in. And then on the last row, you can face nail it where it will be covered up by the baseboard trim. I was totally not expecting the room to come out this square, but I will definitely take it. And this is something I had always wanted in a studio, is a screen out in the live room that mirrors what I see on the computer in the control room. Handy if I'm recording myself or if I want to show the artist where they are in the arrangement of the song. It's a hardwired HDMI cable, which is so much better than AirPlay. Okay, now into the control room. It doesn't look like it due to the lens distortion in this shot, but these floors are perfectly flat due to the way I frame them quite differently than the live room. In the background, you can see the rough plywood and 2x4 prototype desk that I'm designing. You can see the one wing on the left with rack spaces. It will be symmetrical and have an identical wing on the right when it's done. More on that in another episode. Okay, control room floor is done. Let's take a little detour and work on the kitchenette. A bunch of used cabinets that I got out of an office clean out. Can't go wrong with butcher block. I didn't realize that these came unfinished, but considering how much I had to cut it up, it was just as well. Got this adorable little cook surface going in. And then I guess I lied. I did opt for LVP in this entryway, bathroom, and kitchenette area. Finally, I had to decide where these thresholds were going to be and trim down the wood. then I could finish up the tiles. I got a bunch of this pine shiplap in the same lot that I got most of the tongue and groove for the ceiling of the live room. So I'm using this for trim, and I figured out a good way to use it to make acoustic panels for the live room. Pretty self-explanatory here. I'm using the ratchet strap to hold them together while the glue dries, and I'm checking diagonals to check how square the box is. Here's a couple more hacks. I just had these canvas stretcher frames lying around, and I took these acoustic ceiling tiles, which seem to be pretty similar to Owens 703, and I stuck them in there to make face frames for the acoustic panels. And this is also found material. My parents used to have a sewing shop, and this is just cotton canvas duck. I've done so many of these, and I really hate using the manual staple gun, so I finally treated myself and got this electric one, and it's definitely a real game changer. I'm really looking forward to when I use it to put the canvas on the control room walls. Here we are hanging the panels. We put them up with French cleats. To start, I'm not filling these with any absorptive material. I want to be bold and keep the live room live, and I can always experiment with filling it with something later. It was finally time to finish this big control room window. Since the walls don't touch, I needed to bridge the gap between them with some foam that I covered with canvas. Here's that stapler that I hate. I guess it was the only one that was handy down here. These were a real satisfying friction fit. And then I made sure they wouldn't go anywhere with a pin nailer. My brilliant younger nibbling Tess helped me install the glass. This is 3/8" tempered glass that I also got for a steal. I had 3 pieces of it, so I put 1 piece on the control room side, and then I'm gonna double up 2 layers on the live room side. I would have to guess this glass weighs at least 100 pounds a sheet. We held the first outside layer up with these brackets on the sides. Of course, cleaning everything in between. I pre-assembled the casing and pre-finished it, and right now I am putting in like a foam rubber strip that goes against the glass. Our dog Pearl and my dad Bill helped to put the casing up. So it would be serviceable. I screwed it on with 4 screws and capped them with these little cute brass caps. The other thing I always wanted in my studio was a mirror ball with a permanently wired switch for the light and spinny thing for the ball. I had to fish a wire from the mirror ball to the light, but it all worked out. That's our other dog, Cowboy. Anyway, that's about all the build footage I have so far, but we've already had a bunch of bands in and everything is sounding so good in here. I can't wait to share some more videos with you. So if you enjoyed this video, consider subscribing and I'll see you on the next one. Cheers.
I have no